Yu Darvish may not pitch again, but is he retiring? That depends on who you talk to and what day it is. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Friar Territory. I am Marty Caswell. That is Kyle Glaser. We are joining you on the Foul Territory Network. Kyle, it's been a wild couple days chasing the Darvish rumors. What do you make of just how everything unfolded, what was said, and Yu Darvish's response?
Yeah, look, I think we all know where this is going to end, right? We know that
Mhm.
Yu Darvish, realistically, the most likely option is that he will end up retiring. That is also the opinion of a lot of people just around the game, both inside and outside the Padres organization. That said, it's not done yet. And just because something is the expectation doesn't mean it's automatically going to happen. I did think that it was good that Yu Darvish and Joe Wolf came out in their own words so that there's no
Mhm.
room for misinterpretation, said, this is where we are. In Darvish's case, it's something that, we'll read the full tweet here in a second. But overall, look, the short version is
Okay.
something they've talked about, something they've thought about. But right now, the focus is on rehabbing and seeing how it goes. So there's no question that the most likely outcome is that he ends up retiring, but it's not done yet. And again, nothing is ever 100% guaranteed.
There's a couple things. Like number one, when I saw that story in the Union Tribune, my first thought was like, okay, well, number one, oh, actually, no, let's rewind. When the Padres extended Michael King, I thought at that time they probably know what's going to happen with you, Darvish. I know how close Darvish and AJ Preller are, the mutual respect they have for each other. I just it was hard for me to think that is even possible unless they had an idea some of that contract's going to go away.
Yeah, again, really the expectation has been going back to the fall that there's a real
Hmm.
chance that Yu Darvish is going to retire, just given he's coming off his third elbow surgery, just given his career, his reputation, it is intact, it is
Yes.
sterling, just the way the performance has been trending and his age, right? I mean, it's very, very rational and reasonable. Rational, making up words now. Rational and reasonable to expect that that will be the ultimate outcome here. I do want to read you Darvish's exact words again, just so there's no misquoting or room for
Okay.
misinterpretation. So, as you Darvish tweeted out following reports that he was in fact retiring, quote, you may have seen an article, and although I am leaning towards voiding the contract, there's still a lot that has to be talked over with the Padres, so the finer details are yet to be decided. Also, I will not be announcing my retirement yet. Right now, I am fully focused on my rehab for my elbow, and if I get to a point where I can throw again, I will start from scratch again to compete. If once I get to that point, I feel I can't do that, I will announce my retirement. He went on a second tweet to say, since there are reports about my retirement, I'll explain briefly. I've been discussing with the Padres since last year about terminating the contract, but I haven't decided to retire yet. My own intention has been consistent since the start of the offseason, but at this point, discussions with the Padres, the Players Association, and my agent haven't been finalized. As for me, if I can thoroughly complete my rehab and feel confident that I can pitch in games both mentally and physically, I'd like to start over and compete from scratch again. As for this year, I plan to go to Petco Park for rehab as well and also attend a bit of spring training. So, Marty, when you read these words in their exact form,
Hmm.
what was your immediate reaction?
Well, he said he's been talking. He's had this discussion with the Padres. So this isn't like something as though the UT just jumped the gun on. He hasn't been talking about retirement. He has had conversations with the Padres about his contract, about voiding his contract.
Yeah.
So that tells me when someone said to me before, when once you start thinking about retiring, you're retired. And I thought about what you Darvish said earlier to us that he was going to give it all he had in the postseason, let it go because this was probably going to be it for it. So I just thought that listen, maybe he didn't want to announce over the weekend that he is retiring. They need to work a couple things out with
Yeah.
his agent Joel Wolf with the MLBPA. But I don't think that the UT got this story wrong. I think it's inevitable, just a matter of when. Is he
And
not going to
again,
retire? Is he going to wait? I mean, if listen, Joe Musgrove rehabbed all of last season with the expectation that he's coming back. He wasn't going to retire. So is you Darvish going to just listen? If it's too much, I'm done. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it changed my mind as to what I think is going to happen.
Again, it is fair to say the expectation is this saga will end with him announcing his retirement. It's a matter of when. And again, when you're talking about contracts and dealing with, remaining money, there's always going to be legal details to be worked out. Again, the mention that the Players Association becomes involved in this a little bit. There are a lot of moving pieces here, a lot of things that have to be kind of tightened up before anything official can happen. That's just, again, the nature of contracts. So again, I don't think the correct read on this, and this is just my own experience, my own read, but also talking to people throughout the game, including with the Padres. I wouldn't read it as, oh wait, he's not retiring, he's going to come back. It is very much a wait and see. There's things to work out. He is going to give, rehab a go, but the likeliest scenario is that this does end with him retiring. One thing that did jump out to me, Marty, is his phrasing of terminating the contract or voiding the contract, not arranging a buyout, not discussing, terms, but straight up voiding it. And that's interesting because Darvish is due $46 million over the next 3 years. And if he formally voids that, and he gets none of it, that is significant savings for the Padres. Again, knowing the Players Association, the precedents they want to set, I'm sure they will push for some sort of buyout in some form or fashion so that he doesn't void it and walk away with nothing. But I did think that phrasing was notable.
Terminating the contract.
Yeah.
What do you think? What would the MLBPA be satisfied with as far as reaching a deal on the money owed?
So again,
and could this also turn into like a personal services sort of contract?
That's a possibility. You look back, for example, at the Anthony Rendon contract with the Angels. The Angels wanted to buy that out. They don't want anything to do with Anthony Rendon anymore. And it was long overdue. And that is a very different situation than the Darvish situation. But again, there was a buyout. It wasn't a situation. Everyone knows Anthony Rendon is not playing baseball again. There is zero chance that his hips are gone, aside from all the personal issues. And he is more or less, with the way he's acted, turned off any potential suitor from ever bringing him into their clubhouse. Darvish is a very different situation. He has remained a class act. He has been in the clubhouse. He has helped the team. So again, if it's he moves into a special advisor role, if it's a personal services contract, if there's a lump sum payment, or if they decide to spread some payments out over a longer period, there's a lot of different options here. Again, knowing the MLBPA and the precedents they want to set, it would surprise me if this ends with Darvish just walking away from 3 years and $46 million and not seeing a cent of it. Again, ultimately it will be his choice, but again, the MLBPA likes to ensure the players get as much as they can, and they will find other ways to make that happen.
I'm reminded of what Michael King said when he, at his press conference, when he talked about his extension, how Darvish sat in with the meetings with him and his agent, AJ Preller. It just wouldn't surprise me, given the respect. And given, by the way, Darvish's ties to San Diego, because his son, Shohei Darvish, by the way, what a name. Shohei Darvish, and the pressure that comes with two of some of the more famous baseball players that come out of Japan. But his son is pitching at UCSD this coming season. So there's a lot of reasons for Darvish to be tied close to the San Diego Padres. It would not surprise me that when he finally does make it official, that he joins his friend AJ Preller. By the way, assuming AJ Preller is still with the Padres, but it wouldn't surprise me. It's a long sentence if he finds him in a role, special assistant to AJ Preller. It's vacant because Craig Stammen is now the manager. So.
And again, keep in mind, the relationship between AJ Preller and Darvish goes back to when they were both in Texas. We're talking a decade-plus relationship, a decade-plus long relationship. AJ Preller was in Texas when Darvish came over from Japan, was a big part of that process. So again, the other part of this too is, even if Darvish is not in a Padres uniform as a player, he can provide immense value to the organization. Look, Craig Stammen's talked about it. Managers years past have talked about it. Darvish is the type of guy who helps younger players navigate the challenges and rigors of what it is to be a starter in Major League Baseball. Stammen talked a little bit about the relationship with him and Randy Vasquez, but Darvish, having him in your clubhouse, having him in camp, passing on his wisdom, passing on his knowledge, working with younger guys or even guys in the middle of their careers that are kind of trying to figure out, okay, maybe I don't have the raw stuff I used to. How do I adjust? That's only going to make the Padres better. So I will say this. Whenever Darvish retires, it's not going to mean, okay, peace out. We're never going to see him again. I fully expect him to be a member of this organization, in some form or fashion. It's just going to matter how informal or formal it is.
I'm glad you brought that up because I actually wondered if he'd had the same sort of role that Joe Musgrove had. Joe Musgrove was with the Padres every single day last
Yes.
season, right? I mean, he traveled with them. He was in the dugout clubhouse for every single game
Yeah.
in spring training. I actually caught up with Joe Musgrove Sunday briefly because he was there along with Jackson Merrill and Padres CEO Eric Grupner for the dedication of the Miracle League field, which we'll get to a little bit later. And I asked Joe Musgrove, do you expect Yu Darvish to have the same sort of role with the Padres that you did, being around the team, mentoring the pitchers? I think we have that answer.
I don't have. I mean, I know Darvish. I know his passion for the game, and I know his desire to help people around him get better. But I have no expectation as far as what we're going to get out of him this year. And I don't say that in a negative term. I just say that as this is a decision for you. He's got his reasons why he's doing it. I think it's extremely admirable what he's doing. But I don't want to put any of my opinions out there on that. This is his decision to make 100%, and I don't feel a certain way about it.
You have to go with the pitching line. You said I want.
All right, where did you make that answer? I'll tell you really quick. What I got from that answer is Joe Musgrove already knows that he is not, that he's retiring. I'm going to go ahead and read into his answer, although he said, don't read into my answer, but that's just kind of what I do, Kyle.
Yeah, again, look, maybe this is just the formally trained journalist in me. I'm just going to stick to, the words and the facts as they are, right?
Yes.
Again, it is fair to say the expectation around baseball is that Yu Darvish will retire this offseason. Again, just because something is expected doesn't mean it's guaranteed, but it is accurate to say that is the expectation. And Marty, I want to actually bring this up with you. If this is it for Yu Darvish, if this is the end of his major league career and the end of his Padres tenure, how should Yu Darvish's time with the Padres be remembered?
God, that's a tough question. That's a tough question. And you can ask me that question about Manny Machado in a couple years, right? And Joe Musgrove in a couple years. Man, exciting, disappointing, painful, just because the Padres went for it with a great core of pitchers, right? And they didn't win it. Tantalizing, so close. He was so dominant in the playoffs against the Dodgers, right, a couple years ago. And then I hate to see that his career would end like this. So it's tough, man. Yu Darvish was he was a treat to watch. I love watching Yu Darvish pitch, right? But he is part of one of the most successful eras in Padres history. Yeah. So if it ends like this, I think you look at it as incomplete. And I know that's a terrible answer, but that's kind of how I look at it.
I really look at Yu Darvish's Padres tenure as a success. He's given the Padres 5 seasons. He was an all-star. He was a top 10 Cy Young Award finisher. We saw, a couple seasons with the RAs and the threes. He gave the Padres a frontline established starter for multiple seasons. And you talk about the postseason. He was fantastic. What he did against the Mets in the wild card series to get the Padres back into that series after they lost game 1 and set the stage for Joe Musgrove in game 3. I mean, again, 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 run. Going into the NLCS against the Phillies, yes, he suffered loss in game 1, but he pitched really well against a Phillies team that could just bang with the best of them. 2 starts, 2.77 ERA. And what he did in the NLCS against the Dodgers in 2024, I mean, across multiple critical postseason series, across multiple seasons, Yu Darvish pitched like the ace the Padres needed him to. He did it time and again during the regular season. Yes, it's a bummer it ends this way, but almost every player, it ends 39, 38, 37, 40, 41 with a year that's like, Very few people retire when they're still performing at an elite level. So I think at the end of the day, Yu Darvish did what the Padres brought him in to do, which was give them a frontline caliber pitcher who they could hand the ball to in game 1 or 2 of a postseason series and carry them through. And he did that many times over. So yes, were there some bad games? Did the season not go well? Of course. Sure. But the total picture, I think you have to look at it as a successful run.
And can't deny that he gave the Padres everything that he had. I know there's going to be, plenty of second guessing. Mike Schill's no longer with us. I mean, he's alive, guys. Sorry about that. Mike Schill is no longer the manager of the Padres, but second guessing about the decision to start Yu Darvish in that final game rather than Michael King was healthy. But man, Yu Darvish has been so good in the postseason. I wish he could have gotten the sort of ending that Clayton Kershaw had, where you knew that was it for him, and he leaves a champion. But you're right. He was dominant, and he was so respected in that clubhouse. I'm just thinking of the One of the lasting images I have for Wrigley Field in the Padres clubhouse was how much time Manny Machado and Yu Darvish spent side by side talking, just having like a really, really deep emotional conversation.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if they both knew that for Darvish, that was probably it. And the last time he was gonna put his uniform on in a game like that mattered. So that stuck with me for a while this offseason. So we'll see what happens.
And again, the other part of this I want to bring up, because it is important and it does matter when
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about guys that you're signing to be, on the billboard, that you're giving massive contracts to, that you want to be a representative of your organization. Yu Darvish did that incredibly well. In the clubhouse, he was absolutely a leader. And whenever he had a bad game, he owned it. He didn't make excuses.
Mm-hmm.
He set a great example for all the pitchers that were in the clubhouse, whether it was how he dealt with the media, how he handled himself on the mound, how he interacted with coaches. Everything he did was first class all the way around. We talk about the work he's done with Rady's Children's Hospital, which,
Yes.
is incredibly important and hits me very personally, just given my brother's history as a cancer patient at Rady's Children's Hospital.
Wow.
At the end of the day, the total package, what Yu Darvish gave the Padres on the field, how he carried himself off the field, the representative he was for this organization locally and nationally, yeah, A+, success all the way around. And if this is it, he has had an incredible career that everyone should appreciate, both his tenure with the Padres and his entire career start to finish, both in the United States and Japan. This is one of the most talented pitchers over the last 20, 25 years when you consider the combination of what he accomplished in Japan and the U.S. And I do think he has a legitimate Hall of Fame case if you take everything into account. And what isn't debatable is he is the most successful Japanese starting pitcher of all time in MLB to date. And that is saying something, because there have been a lot of guys who have come over and had a lot of success.
He's a culture changer. When you think of some of the more impactful players to ever come through Japan, you can go ahead and you can listen. People talk about Shohei Ohtani. I mean, what he's done is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But Darvish, I remember like a spring training game because when he was with the Rangers, and he was like a really, really big deal, right? And he was pitching. It was Will Venable. I remember Will Venable getting just annoyed about all the Darvish chatter. But there was so much buzz accompanying Yu Darvish when he first came to the States, and man, he's lived up to everything. He's delivered and then some. It's been such a joy to watch. I selfishly kind of wish maybe he can come back, one more time, but it's hard to think that's going to happen.
And that culture changer comment you made actually is very important to note as well, because one of the things Yu Darvish did as well, first and foremost, people have to remember he came over to incredible hype. What he did in the WBC, everyone talking about his gyro ball. I mean, he had a tremendous amount of pressure on his shoulders. And he delivered from year one. He was a top 10 Cy Young finisher the next year as well, All-Stars all the way through. And the other thing with Yu Darvish was he was really the first Japanese pitcher to come over and be a star for a long time. You have to remember, a lot of guys came before him. Hideo Nomo, Daisuke Matsuzaka. They burned incredibly bright, but their peaks were pretty short. We're talking 3-ish years, 4-ish years. Yu Darvish was a frontline starter in Major League Baseball for a decade plus, and he was the first Japanese star to do that. And you talk about changing attitudes, talking about changing perceptions. He was absolutely one of those guys who did that. He fundamentally changed how NPB pitchers are viewed. And I can tell you right now, without Yu Darvish, you don't see Yoshinobu Yamamoto getting $325 million over 12 years.
I'll have to share some footage later on. One of my favorite footages I have is Yu Darvish just spending all this time with the deference that Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto have for Yu Darvish when they came to Petco Park last year. Just all the bowing and the deference. I love that. It makes me so happy. All right, I'm spending so much time. You have changed my mind. Success, Darvish. Don't retire. Keep the money. Come back. Pitch one more time. Give it a shot. Let's go. Let's go. All right. By the way, speaking of Joe Musgrove. And I'll have more footage of this later on of the dedication of the Miracle League field in San Diego. Him and Jackson Merrill put their own money into it along with the San Diego Padres. It was very, very cool. Joe Musgrove spoke about his progress and where he's at right now. We have Fan Fest next weekend. And then a couple weeks after that, these guys are heading to Peoria for spring training. Joe Musgrove talked about his progression and where he's at.
Normal progression, I haven't really been told what I can throw and what I can on certain days when I need rest. It's kind of up to me what my body needs, and I'm getting myself ready based on how I feel and what I know about myself.
Is it so? It's right to say that this is like any other season.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be, I'm sure there are going to be limitations on the inning limit and how many pitches will let me go out of the gates, but I want to try to be as normal as possible, keeping in the back of my mind that I need to be fresh and able to throw in October. So if that means skipping a start here or there or pushing me back a few days or a couple days extra rest, like I'm already at peace with like having to do that if that means I get to throw in October. So I told Ruben I want to be as normal as possible. I don't want to be this, project where it's super careful. Like, let me pitch. I'm honest with you. I know where I'm at in my career. I'm going to be smart about getting this right. So,
where you're at in your career.
So he's gonna take it easy. He's not pushing. He's not pushing to go ahead and be there day one of Padres spring training.
I think with Joe Musgrove again, he has had the longer end of the Tommy John rehab timeline to get himself right? We talk about 12 to 18 months is the timeline. It's really more 13 to 17 months. And just with the timing of his injury, by the time we get to opening day, he will have had the full 17 months. And that's important. Now, look, in terms of what he's able to give the Padres, I thought it was notable. He talked about, coming out the gate, what it's going to look like. We see all the time. It is standard. Guys coming back from Tommy John surgery, the command's a little bit off. Some of the rhythm, the timing, the delivery is a little bit off. Maybe they're a little hesitant to still let it go. It will be perfectly normal and perfectly okay and not a red flag at all if he's a little up and down when he first comes back. But again, by mid-season, once he kind of gets back into the rhythm of everything, gets into, the right form, I am not too concerned about Joe Musgrove and how many innings he can throw. If he's out there and he's feeling good, he knows his body. I do think the Padres will get a good season from Joe Musgrove this year. It's, again, the expectation based on precedent would be, hey, might be a little up and down the first couple months, maybe even the first half of the season. But by the All-Star break, I would expect him to be back in prime form.
Okay, I like it. I'm excited to see Joe Musgrove do his thing in spring training. And as he said, he'll be amenable working with Ruben Niebla and, of course, Craig Stammen, a lot of pitchers on that staff. Perhaps you'll have, Buddy Black and Yu Darvish to help him as well. But being smart, and perhaps he even mentioned skipping starts when needed to go ahead and preserve that arm, preserve those innings for when it matters, September, October push. So we'll see what happens with Joe Musgrove.
What's your expectation from him? What would you consider to be a positive return for Joe Musgrove in terms of innings, ERA, overall production?
No, honestly, health and no setbacks.
Yeah.
Like no scratching. It became such a theme with Joe Musgrove where we thought it just precautionary turned into 3 months, turns into surgery, turns into out for the season. With him, it's going to be healthy, just scratched, just to be smart.
Yeah, we all know the Padres, especially under AJ Preller, have a long track record of downplaying injury severity and timelines. I'll never forget, 2016 Tyson Ross opening day. Oh yeah, he'll be fine, no big deal. He misses the whole year. There have been all sorts of examples like that. I think with Joe Musgrove, just looking at where he was, right, the last 2 years, 97 in the third innings, 99 and 2/3 innings. He hasn't crossed 100 innings since 2022. Again, if he can get to 120, 130 innings, make those 26, 27 starts, maybe he skips a few here or there, maybe he comes back 2 weeks into the season, I think that would count as a successful year. If Joe Musgrove, like you said, no setbacks, can stay healthy throughout the entire season and gives the Padres 120, 130 innings in the regular season, yeah, that's a success, and that would be a very, very, very welcome addition to a Padres rotation that is going to need innings, especially given we know Yu Darvish, no matter what happens, will not pitch in 2026.
Right. By the way, it's so funny that you mentioned Tyson Ross because I was actually at Petco Park on Saturday for the Randy Jones celebration of life, which was magnificent. They did a fantastic job, recognizing, remembering number 35. It was awesome. And two pitchers I saw from the past that were there, Tyson Ross and Andrew Kashner. They were both there to pay tribute to RJ. And Kashner got really emotional when I was talking to him. He said, this guy, he's like, you don't understand. He was like the biggest mentor of my life. Like he meant so much to me. So I do want to mention that I did see both of them. They look the same. I did not ask them, are you guys available to pitch? Can you give the Padres 100 innings this coming season? They looked like they could though, but it was really nice.
Yeah, no, the Randy Jones celebration of life, it was very, very well done. And I think it's
Mm,
important to really appreciate who Randy Jones was on so many levels,
mhm.
right? Yes, he was a fantastic pitcher who was the face of the Padres throughout the mid 70s, their first Cy Young Award winner. And I don't want to discount Nate Colbert entirely, but a lot of ways, their first big national star, their first guy who was a top, Cy Young Award, elite level talent was Randy
On the
Jones.
cover of SI.
Cover of Sports Illustrated at a time when the Padres, the franchise, were less than 10 years old, hadn't accomplished anything. He was the guy that
Yeah.
kind of put them on the map. We hear all the stories about how attendance in the stadium would double whenever he pitched. And I think it's important
Mm-hmm.
people realize, too, that 1976 Cy Young Award season, the year before he won the NL ERA title and was the Cy Young runner-up to Tom Seaver. I mean, this was someone who was able to pitch at an elite level for multiple years at a time when the franchise needed a star. But I think the ultimate measure of Randy Jones is what he did after his playing days. The impact he had on the community, the work he did with students, the work he did with military veterans, the
Mm-hmm.
charity events he did, representing the Padres, representing Major League Baseball. That's the stuff that lasted beyond just his playing career. So it wasn't just about, oh, he played X years in the majors. There's a 50-year record of service here. And I thought what was really notable about this celebration of life,
Mm-hmm.
you had ex Padres players literally from every decade there to pay tribute. You had Fred
Yeah.
Kendall, you had Rupert Jones, you had Gary Templeton, you had Trevor Hoffman, you had Mark Loretta, you had Tyson Ross and Andrew Kashner, you had Joe Musgrove. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
again, Fred Kendall was the Padres catcher in the 70s. He actually did play a little bit that 1969 inaugural season. So you literally have players from every decade that the Padres have been in existence were there to pay their respects to Randy Jones. And I think that just spoke to the impact he had, not just on one generation of fans, not just on a
Mm-hmm.
specific group of players, but generations, passing down, fathers to sons. I mean,
Yeah.
look, I was born a very long time after Randy Jones was done pitching. And he had an impact on me. I remember being a very young reporter, brand new, eyes wide, trying to figure it out. From day one, Randy Jones, walked up to me, asked me my name, and remembered it and made me feel welcome. Like,
Wow.
he touched so many people. And I think that is the ultimate measure of a man. Yes, what you do on the field, that's incredible, but it's what you do beyond it too. And he really was a grade A human being in every way. I mean, Marty, you were around him so much as I
Mm-hmm.
was. What are your biggest and favorite memories of Randy Jones?
There's not just one memory, but he
Yeah.
was so authentic and so joyous. And he was like, it's like he was hosting a party every single day. Like I've never, listen, you know how stressful a ballpark can be, especially with what we do, but that Randy always had time for everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it's possible that I never once saw him in a bad mood. I saw Randy Jones like every single day, right?
Yeah.
And back when we started the Mighty 1090, he did the post game show. He was part of
Yeah.
the station, the post game show, the pre game show, the BP show with with Darren Smith and Tim Flannery and Dave Roberts and Mark Pryor, and he brought so many stories, and he was hilarious, and he
Oh
was
yeah.
sneaky funny, and I just it was he's one of a kind. He really was one of a kind. By the way, and I know we're talking about the personality, but the one thing that's extraordinary when we talk about how extraordinary he was as a pitcher, and I think it was Bob Chandler who gave a great speech. He talked about he had 25 complete games, and
Oh yeah.
last year where there were a total in all of the games pitched, a total of 13 complete games.
Yeah.
13. Randy Jones had 25 by himself in one season. Last season, Nick Ndolo of the Reds led baseball with two. He's doing things. You think about unbreakable records, that's it. It's never gonna happen because the game has changed so much and all the specialists. But man, Randy Jones, and he never, by the way, he never let you forget that. Never let you forget about what he was able to do on the mound.
Exactly. And you go back again, right? The numbers only tell part of the story, but again, he
Mhm.
threw 315 and a third innings that year. And again, yes, different era of baseball. That still
I
led
know.
Major League Baseball. There's years of 285, 253, 263. And again, 76 his Cy Young Award season, 75 his, NLERA title. But it lasted beyond that. I mean, he was still a damn good pitcher into 1979,
Mhm.
1980. I mean, he was someone that year in and year out the Padres could give the ball to the front of the rotation, and they felt good about winning baseball games at a time when this franchise did not win many baseball games. And going back to his personality, it was there as a player. You're right. It was super authentic as a player, as a media person, and even just as an ambassador. You're right. I want to say the first time I met Randy Jones in person, I want to say it was 2009, maybe. I think I was a college intern. So, 15 plus years, and saw him a lot over the years. Never once saw him angry. Never saw him once in a bad mood. Never saw him once, be short with anyone or anything like that. Like, big smile, made you feel like, the biggest person in the world. And again, it wasn't fake. It wasn't surface level. And then the work he did, I'm talking about, students, military, what Andrew Cashman talked about with the players. He had an impact on this organization on and off the field for 50 plus years. And that's just an incredible life and one worth celebrating. And I'm very glad the Padres gave him that celebration of life that he deserved.
Well, I'm going to mention one more thing before we get on to some mailbag questions. But I was at the ribbon cutting for the new Miracle League in San Diego. Okay, and it was awesome. It was Jack Samero was there, and Joe Musgrove, and Eric Grupner, and Tom Seidler, and they had they've given their own money to help this. And when Dan Engel, one of the founders, said that this is emotional because when we had our first 19 years ago ribbon cutting, Randy Jones was the person that was there. So this guy, may not realize it. We know what he did, but he was involved helping those less fortunate, really, since all his time with the Padres. This guy gave back to his community, and that really stands out.
And he will continue to, even after his passing through the Randy Jones Foundation. I mean, he has established a legacy here that will last well beyond, just his years on this earth, which, again, that's impact that very few people in this world ever accomplish, and it's really a testament to who he was as a person. So, all right, Marty. Well, I feel like this has been a very kind of emotional show, like the end of Darvish, Randy Jones' celebration of life. Should we get back to the real, the less heavy stuff, the lighter stuff? Just get to some fan questions.
Let's do the less heavy stuff, the lighter stuff. By the way, I'm not sure what's happening if it's my Wi-Fi, if I'm fading, what's happening. I'm pixelating right now. I'll give you one more thing, by the way, before we get to the mailbag, because I caught up with Eric Grupner today, and I asked him the question I've been asking you about. What's the latest with AJ Preller's contract? And he said it's the same. So Padres fans, you can refer to Grupner's last statement. They're working on it. We'll see what happens. All right. So now it's time for your mailbag questions. Kyle, what do we have?
All right. From King Dode. With the New York Mets and LA Dodgers going nuts, do you think it would be wise for the Padres to have a retool year and move one-year deals / Cronenworth to get more assets and clean up the books long term? Marty, we've talked about this in different forms and fashions over the last few weeks. What are your thoughts?
At King Dode, no. Man, you've got a very particular window with this crew right now. Just listen to what Joe Musgrove said about he knows what he has left. You have a very small window with this guy. Manny Machado's health does not improve over the years. You kind of go for it now with this group that you do have. The year to retool is the year after. When they ever come back from this lockout, I think you give it all for one more year, and then go.
Yeah. So it comes down to, if it's a trade worth making, sure. But you don't want to trade just for the sense of, again, retooling or rebuilding of, hey, let's just get money off the books. Let's start over. That's not the right thing with this group. I've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it again. There will come a point once Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts hit that age 34 season, where once again, not always, but generally speaking, that is the age we see position players really fall off sharply. That will be the point where the Padres are going to have to start winning in spite of them, not with them making significant contributions. As long as they are able to make even semi-significant contributions, I think you have to take advantage of it. And both Machado and Bogaerts are able to do that to a degree still. I do think the right move is for the Padres to attempt to compete this year as best they can. Look, 2027, that's going to be dicey. We don't know. We know there will be a lockout. We don't know how long it'll be. post Kyle Tucker signing, I will say more people in the game now think it will be longer. And then once we move into, again, whether it's, call it half a season of 2027 and then it's 2028, and then you start looking at a lot of guys are 35, 36 plus, then that might be the time. But I do think in 2026, given this is a team coming off back-to-back 90-win seasons, given this is a team with a lot of stars in their prime still,
Yep.
there's no reason to just punt on this year because the books don't look good. I still think you have the pieces in place to compete this year. They need to make a few more additions, but clearing money and clearing contracts just to clear them, there will be a time for that. 2026 is not that time.
You can't punt. You cannot punt on your product, on your team, when you've capped out your season ticket sales and you're going to push 3 million plus through the turnstiles. Zero chance you can do that. What do we have next, Kyle?
All right. From Bubba Trubba. I like this. Kind of makes me think of Bubba Trammell a little
Ooh.
bit. Hi, guys. I'm wondering what you guys think of the Padres signing Chris Bassett or Nick Martinez for a starter, and also trading a couple players for a true power hitter, maybe Cronin, Estrada for Suarez, or someone like Hoskins and Real Muto for Camposano. So first and foremost, Eugenio Suarez and Rhys Hoskins are free agents, and thus you don't need to trade anyone for them. Real Muto re-signed with the Phillies. They're not going to move him. So really, it's the first part of this question about the thoughts of signing Chris Bassett or Nick Martinez. We've talked about the Padres and their need for one more starting pitcher, how it would certainly benefit them. Where are you on that, Marty? Both of them are 35 plus, but both of them have come off really productive seasons.
Sign both. Sign both Chris Bassett and Nick Martinez. Nick Martinez, by the way, very valuable. We know how value he was when he was with San Diego as a starter, reliever, although he wants to start. I don't think you can have enough pitching. I know that I asked you about some other guys like the Verlanders and the Scherzers. I'd much rather take my chance on Bassett and Martinez and what they have left right now. I think that would be a no-brainer. If you can get them, go for it.
Yeah, Nick
What do you
Martinez.
think, Kyle?
Nick Martinez, yeah, absolutely. Yes to both. Chris Bassett is someone I actually think has been one of the more underappreciated starting pitchers in baseball in recent years. He had a very good year last year. He had a 3.96 ERA, made 31 starts, threw 170 innings. I mean, he has consistently, for really the better part of the last 5 years now, been an above-average starting pitcher in Major League Baseball, and a durable one at that. Again, this isn't a guy who he's good, but you're only going to get him for, 19, 21, 22 starts. I mean, you have 4 years in a row now here of 30-plus starts. Yes, he's gotten older, but the production hasn't really dropped off much. And we also saw him pitch well in the postseason, too. Again, threw 170 innings in the regular season, moved into a bullpen role in the postseason, and was fantastic for the Blue Jays. 8 2/3 innings, only 1 run, 6 appearances. He still has a lot to give. So I think Chris Bassett would be a great addition for the Padres. And again, Nick Martinez, almost no-hit the Padres last year. That was a little bit funny in a way.
Yes.
But again, we've seen what he can do. He can start for you. He can pitch in long relief. He can come in and throw a really quality 7th or 8th inning for you.
Yep.
Again, great clubhouse guy. We saw that during his tenure here. Do the Padres have money to sign both? I think the only way that happens is if, we get to spring training and both of them remain unsigned and they take, lesser deals than they hope for. But yeah, to both. I mean, again, if it's one or the other, there's no oh no, don't do that. And like you said, both of these signings would be better than signing a Justin Verlander or Max Scherzer at this point in their respective careers.
Kyle, I'm going to ask you this question with the assumption that Nick Pivetta is with the Padres, and I don't think he's going anywhere. I really don't at this point. But where are Nick Pivetta aside, where are the Padres getting their innings from, their starter innings from?
So again, you're counting on Michael King staying healthy, and I don't think that's irrational. Again, what he had last year was kind of a freak thing with the nerve. It wasn't something chronic. We're not talking, the foreboding words of forearm tightness or shoulder strain or, lat injury, the things that typically end up becoming something worse or lingering. I'm just not that worried about Michael King and his ability to give them another 150, 160, 170 inning season. I'm really not. Again, anytime you're talking about a starting pitcher, yeah, it's always possible, an elbow blows out. You hope not, but I'm not going into the year significantly worried about it. Musgrove, we'll see. Again, expecting another, 180 inning season out of him. That's not going to be, fair to him, but 130. Again, we talked about last show, JP Sears, when right, was a 170 to 180 inning pitcher with the A's. So if the Padres can get him right, there's some innings there. We saw Randy Vasquez make the jump to 130 plus. the natural progression now would be for him to get to 150, 160. So there are places the Padres can get their innings, but again, we just know this is the case with starting pitchers. I just list, 4 guys. Are all 4 of them all going to go according to plan? No, we know that, right? 1 probably will. 2 will probably be like partially there, and 1 will probably fall short or get hurt. That's just the nature of pitchers and starting pitchers in today's game, especially. So yeah, adding more arms, adding more durable arms will only serve the Padres. And by the way, that's true for every team in Major League Baseball, right? Yeah. You can never have too much starting pitching. And especially now, given we talk about an expanded postseason with a whole extra round, the more guys you have capable of giving you length, the better off you will be.
Okay.
All right. Last question, Marty. Here we go. This is from Vinny. I actually like this one. That's why I picked it. What is your over-under on more major league transactions before the season starts? He's talking about for the Padres, of course. Marty, what would you put as the over-under for major league transactions?
So we're not talking like a Gavin Sheet sort of deal then,
nope,
right?
No minor league signings, none of that. Major league transactions.
Wait, okay.
Could be a free agent signing, a trade,
a release.
Involved.
No, it's 4.
Sorry?
4. I have 4. You're taking the under. I can see. I can just see it in your eyes.
Well, no. 4. So here's where I'm at, right?
Okay. Wait.
I would put the over/under at either 2.5 or 6.5. It's either going to be 1 or 2 small moves or a whole bunch of big moves with nothing in the middle, right? There's one of 2 ways this is going to go. It's, okay, the Padres sign, 1 more veteran starter for a 1-year deal, and then maybe they, find someone else on the fringes to give them another bat. 2 major league signings there, and that's it, right? I could see that being a possibility. Or I could see, hey, the deal that they're looking for falls into place for any number of players, right? We've talked about Jeremiah Estrada's trade value. We've talked about Pivetta and Cronenworth, their salaries. Again, they're not going to trade them just to trade them, but if the right deal comes along. And I think that if that starts happening, if those wheels start turning, again, we're going to start seeing, okay, a big flurry of deals. Because again, AJ Preller doesn't do 1 or 2 trades at a time, although I guess spring training he does. But generally speaking, it's a lot at once. So I'm putting my over. I can't decide if I want to go 2.5 or 6.5. Nothing in between. It's going to be under 2.5 or like, okay, maybe over 5.5. Those would be my over/under figures.
Is the Padres first baseman on this roster right now?
It could be. Again, I've mentioned this before, and I think it's worth noting, right? Gavin Sheets came up as a first baseman. That is his natural position. He is not a corner outfielder. He was put there because the White Sox had too many first basemen, and also they're a hapless organization that doesn't know what they're doing. Gavin Sheets, again, yes, there were some times at first base last year he was put out there. It didn't look pretty. But again, that was with irregular playing time. If you give Gavin Sheets a full spring training, back at his natural position, and he's out there every day, I really think he'd be fine over there. I really do. So I do think there is a chance that the answer is yes, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But of course, like any team, and especially a team like the Padres, who we've talked about needs to add offensive thump, adding a right-handed power hitter who can also play first base will only make them better.
I should know this answer before I ask you this final question. But like last year when the Padres signed Jason Hayward, Gurriel, and Connor Joe, were those major league signings or they were minor league deals?
Jason Hayward was a major league deal. Connor Joe was a major league deal. Yuli Gurriel was a minor league deal. Martin Maldonado was a minor league deal. Jose Iglesias was a minor league deal. So there's a little bit of a mix. But again, and we've talked about this, the 35 and over brigade of 1-year deals and minor league signings, it's just not a winning formula.
No.
And I do think the Padres, one of the things I think they deserve credit for, and I talked about this in a previous show, and I'm going to repeat it again, they've been smarter with their minor league deals. We talk about where their innings are going to come from. Look, Tristan McKenzie, it might be a case of, hey, the injuries, have just taken a toll and he's not able to get back to what he was. But there's real upside there. And if the Padres can unlock it, yeah, now they have a really good number 4 starter there who could pitch to a higher level. He has done it before. So that was a really good minor league free agent signing. Jose Miranda was a really good minor league free agent signing. I've probably been lower on Nick Solak than a number of other people in the industry over the years, and so far I've been proven right. But look, there's a little bit of a hitting skill there. Could he win a bench job? Sure. They've done a better job finding guys in that 20. Well, in some cases as young as 25. That 25 to 31, 32 band, guys who have displayed talent and are in an age range where they could still have something left to give. So I want to give them credit for that there. They have been much smarter with their minor league signings this offseason than they were last offseason.
Okay, Padres fans, you did a tremendous job with your mailbag questions. Keep them coming. We have another one this week. You can tweet them to is it Kyle A. Glaser, right?
Yeah, Kyle A. Glaser. Yeah.
Kyle A. Glaser, at Marty Caswell, at Friar Territory. We will answer them again later this week. Wait a second. You didn't answer. You did not give me a straight answer. You can't go in between. Over, under Major League transactions for the Padres. Did you say less than 2.5 or more than 6? You can't do that. You can pick one. I gave you an answer. Give me an answer, Kyle. Let's go. The people want to know.
I'm going to take the under on the 2.5. I think they're in such a tough place financially. It's going to be hard. I think they'll find a way to add one more starting pitcher.
Okay.
Maybe they can find one more, complimentary bench bat type of player on a major league deal, but I think the rest are going to end up being minor league deals. I really do. Just given where they are financially. That said, I have taken the under in the past when it comes to AJ Preller transactions, and whenever that's happened, I have been terribly wrong. So take it with a grain of salt.
We'll see what happens. All right, guys. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory TV network. That is Kyle Glaser. I am Marty Caswell. Have a wonderful day. We'll catch you later on this week.